guys, KiwiSylveon, and welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War. In the last episode, oh boy, it got testy between a lot of people. Between Matthew wanting to kill Sam, and Sam wanting to kill Matthew. And us having another freaking nightmare about Matthew, and Simon being Simon. Now we're choosing a trainer. Now, Jenna is trained with Faye in my head, and if you saw that little thing that popped up, you'd know. If not, then thank God, because I hope it didn't show anything too bad. To be honest, I thought I should have put I push her. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I choose Faye. Faye was a wild card, so who knew what they would teach me. Still, my curiosity was getting the better of me, and I knew it. I'd try it. Yay, now training with Whoa. I reported to a large grand hall. Apparently it was strictly to be used for Sero and Diana, but since training me for defense became priority, I was given the room along with my trainer of choice, Faye. I didn't know what made me choose Faye. They were indeed a wildcard choice. Who knew what I would learn from them? They were obviously a fairy, but what kind of abilities did fairies have in this world? I could tell they were nothing like the fairies in fantasy fairy tales, so the idea of learning about them became a tantalizing curiosity within me. Oh shit! My recording! Oh no! Oh no! As I arrived, I saw Faye flutter about in the room, wowed at the space they were given to train me.
Whoa! This room is so huge! How the heck did we get this room? When did the castle even have this room? Holy crap!
Faye, calm down, please. I giggled and stepped in, watching as the fairy flew to and fro from one side of the room to the other in excitement. Hopefully they wouldn't be too distracted by the side of the room to train me. Hey, Faye! Faye at last turned to me with a large grin and flew close to me, placing their hands behind their back.
Hiya! You ready to learn some cool tricks from a cool demon like me?
I smiled. I had picked a good trainer. Nodding, I pressed my hands on my hips. Absolutely! I'm ready. Faye grinned before floating over to the far end of the room, cupping their hands together and calling out to me.
Come over here!
I tilted my hand, confused for a bit, but shrugged and ran forward, eventually stopping at Faye's side. They clapped in applause, which made me a bit more confused, but I bowed to them, amused.
Alrighty! Now, race it to the other side!
Wait, what? Before I could question Faye, they reeled back and zipped across the room towards the far wall. I rushed behind, trying to catch up, but it didn't make it in time to beat Faye from touching the wall.
I win!
Because you didn't warn me that this was going to be a race! Faye looked at me confused before rubbing their head.
But this is training! Aren't I supposed to teach you how to be fast and dodgy and stuff?
I suddenly realized what I got myself into. Faye had no idea what they were doing. A figure who was standing in the corner, watching the whole event, stepped out of the shadow, slightly surprising me as he walked up to Faye.
Boss, I think you should be teaching the human how to defend herself. Just saying.
Faye turned around and flailed their arms at the figure.
Terminus! Don't tell me what to do! I can do this!
Terminus, I love that name. Oh, give me this one. Terminus let out a snort with an amused smirk, crossing his arms at his apparent boss, and shrugged.
Alright, whatever you say. I was just making a suggestion.
Faye puffed out their cheek at Terminus before turning back to me. I became concerned. Would I be able to learn anything from Faye other than racing? Stay and try. I took a moment to take a deep breath and let it out. Who knew what Faye had in store? Maybe they'd teach me how to grow wings or become small. Their abilities could be pretty useful, especially the wings. Faye pressed a finger to the chin before suddenly getting an idea.
I know! I can teach you a really cool attack!
I suddenly became excited. An attack? I knew that the training was meant for my self-defense. That looked weird for a second. But having an offensive attack would prove to be very useful in the war I was essentially about to jump into. Faye grinned at me before turning to the open space and holding their hands out, closing their eyes and focusing their energy. I watched as a green orb slowly appeared before their palms, growing in size until it became the size of a baseball. Faye opened their eyes and gripped it with both hands, looking at me with a grin.
This is called the thorn bush.
Watch the thorn bush. Thorn bush? Faye nodded ecstatically. Yeah, before arcing their hands back behind their head and chucking the orb forward into the space. As it impacted the ground, the orb popped like a bubble and released a cloud of green gas that covered a large portion of the floor. The gas quickly began to materialize into a web of thorny branches, stretching out over the floor and stopping just before where Faye and I stood. The branches continued to sway in the air as if they were alive. Whoa! I was absolutely astonished. This seemed like a really cool trap, but was it effective? I turned my gaze to Faye to see him look to Terminus with a smug expression.
Hey, Eternimus! Try and walk through it!
With an amused grin and a roll of his eyes, Terminus summoned his spear and walked forward into the area where the bush had made claim. I watched it in curiosity, wondering what the thorn bush would do. I gasped as the branches closest to Terminus began to lash out and strike at him, only to be blocked and cut down by a spear. With a concentrated expression, Terminus began to cut through the bush, driving it back slowly but surely. While I understood that he knew of how to deflect Faye's trap, it was an interesting spell nonetheless. If anything, it was able to slowly down enemies and attack them as I went on. A good distraction. As Terminus reached the center, he rammed his spear into the spot where the bush sprouted from, causing the branches around him to wither and die, fading into the air like they were never there. Wow, that was pretty cool! I'd admit, it looked really cool, even to the end. It was very effective, and I was going to learn it. Go me! Faye turned and smiled at me, bobbing a bit in the air in excitement.
Isn't it? It's one of my favorite trap spells. What's even cooler is that if you throw it at a person, they'll be covered in thorns and won't be able to fight back!
That was a game changer. I stared at Faye, shocked. It could really do stuff like that? Then again, there wasn't really a good way to test it because none of us wanted to be on the receiving end of the spell, and there was no training dummies in the room. I had to take their word for it. Faye grinned before crossing their legs and sitting in the air, pondering.
What else to show you?
Terminus looked over and shook his head, walking back to his corner.
Make the human try what you just did first before showing us something new.
All right!
Faye looked over at me and waved their hands out into the room, gesturing me to do what they did. It was mildly adorable to see them do that, but I shook my thoughts out and tried to focus on trying to replicate what Faye did. I looked at my head, trying to focus on forming the green orb in my hands. I began to imagine it, hoping it would spark my energy to perform the spell, but I found that imagination wouldn't work, or at least wasn't enough. I glared at the back of my hands, trying to figure it out. Faye folded beside me, and Gareth looked at my hands as well, tapping their chin.
Maybe if you squint really hard or something.
Faye? I turned my head to Faye, not wanting to be a bad student, but needing the teacher to actually teach me. Faye folded back a bit, placing their hands in front of them by their chests.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's like,
Like what?
Well, I mean, you're a human, and I don't exactly know if you have magic and stuff, like,
Faye wiggled their arms beside them, flailing a bit before flying around me and scratching their head.
Like, root demons have, like, rage energy to battle, and then Diana has her ooh-la-la kind of sexual energy or whatever to power her powers. But for me, it just comes naturally, you know? I just think about it and poof, it happens. But I'm a demon, so it's supposed to happen.
I nodded, understanding what they meant. But I pressed forward, knowing humans could perform magic if they wanted to. We had energy too, after all. Well, can you show it to me again? Or maybe do it with me or something? Faye tapped their chin, listening to me before nodding and turning to the side. They pointed their hands out and focused on their fingers, which caused me to turn and do the same. I stared as Faye took a breath and mimicked them perfectly. I was going to do this one way or another. I looked at my hands and tried to focus one more time. I tried imagining my energy flowing into my hand and forming the green orb, hoping it would spur the action to happen. Come on. Finally, something in my mind clicked. I closed my eyes and began to focus on my breathing, feeling the air flow through my body. I began to mentally scour my body, taking the note of the inhales of the exhales I released before figuring it out. I concentrated on the air in my body, imagining it to be the energy I imagined myself to have. Like that, I felt very faint waves pulse through my body, confirming that I indeed had energy to use, and a lot of it. I smiled and looked at my hands again, knowing and feeling the energy within me before committing to call forward into a green orb. Obediently, my energy began to flow into my hands, making them blow lightly before forming an orb just in front of my palms. It began to pulse and grow in size, making Faye look over and gasp.
Holy crap, you're doing it! You're doing it!
I grinned from ear to ear as I continued to focus on the orb. Once it had become the size of both of my hands, why would you try to do one the size of both of your hands? You're an idiot. I grasped onto it and pulled it over my head before chucking it into the empty room. Just like Faye's orb, mine popped once it crashed onto the floor and formed a large string of lines of thorny branches, waving creepily in the air and releasing a threatening appearance. I couldn't have been prouder of myself. They zipped through the air happily, punching their fists into the air.
Yeah! You did it!
I couldn't help but jump up a bit as well. It was tough, but I had managed to pull it off. I felt a slight tingle in my hands and arms from using energy, but I didn't mind. Faye finally floated over me and grabbed my hands, shaking them in joy.
We are gonna have so much fun training!
I guess I don't have to ask if everything is okay in here.
Faye and I turned our heads to see Diana leaning against the doorway with a small smirk. I smiled a bit and nodded, looking to the magic I had performed that was still wriggling in the center of the room. Faye released my hands and flew over to Diana, grabbing the succubus's hand and pulling her into the room.
Whoa!
Look! Isn't it so impressive? It's the second best spell I know and she mastered it!
Wait, what? I stared at Faye in shock. This was their second best spell? They really trusted me to learn it, and it was the second best? What was the first? What was the last? Diana observed the branch monster I had essentially summoned and nodded with a chuckle.
I told you, she's a powerhouse of energy. I'm not surprised that she could pull this off.
I felt a bit flattered that Diana believed in me, but Faye flew around Diana and flicked the succubus's hair, making Diana jump a bit and glare at the flying demon.
Yeah, but you didn't tell me that she was awesome!
Diana chuckled a bit before letting out a sigh with a shake of her head.
I'll leave you be then. Have fun, dears.
Okay, bye! Bye, Mommy! Faye was grinning from ear to ear as Diana turned on her heel and walked away. As soon as she left the room, Faye spun around me and lifted themselves higher into the air.
Alrighty, let's make you the master of the thorn bush.
Alright, master of the thorn bush. I laughed and felt excitement rush through my face. This was going to be fun. We spent the entire day focusing on how to make the spell happen quicker, faster, and come more naturally to me. I left exhausted but thrilled at what I was now able to do. Exhausted and tired, I marched to my room and opened the door, Surprised to see Matthew already there. Huh? Matthew? However, what was odd about him being in the room was not that he was there before me, but that he was staring at the fire, eyes glazed over in almost a pale blue tint. Something was going on. I walked over and placed my hand on Matthew's shoulder, slowly walking around him to look directly into his eyes. It was almost creepy to see, but he seemed almost dead. Matthew? I gently shook his body, trying to snap him out of whatever trance he was under, but gasped as I spotted a blue ring around his neck. As I did, the air around me became colder and a little darker. What was going on? Panicked, I looked around, trying to pin down what was causing this.
Hi.
Matthew's voice brought me back to him. Hearing his voice droll out of his mouth like an emotionless doll, I gripped Matthew's shoulders tightly and shook him again. Matthew! Still nothing. No, I'm not that mean. I would never smack the cinnamon roll. I had to break him out of whatever spell was consuming his mind, and there was no way in hell I was going to smack him. Instead, I took his head into my hands and pulled him into a kiss, locking lips with him and shutting my eyes. I didn't understand what made me do this, but I was determined to make it work. I waited. And waited. Until Matthew finally wrapped his arms around me and leaned into the kiss, letting me know that he'd possibly broke through. I opened my eyes slightly to see his eyes closed, but his arms around my waist were secure and loving, just like how I remembered. As I slowly pulled away, Matthew opened his eyes and revealed their lovely ocean blue color. Perfect. However, his cheeks were a lovely contrast to red.
Hi.
I smiled a bit, giggling. Hey, what happened? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I was just looking at the fire. It's pretty warm.
Matthew, you are a cinnamon roll. This makes it even more so that he is indeed a cinnamon roll. Sorry about that, I had to take a drink. Every part of me didn't believe him. Then again, something was wrong, and probably Matthew was becoming a victim of it. I frowned and cupped his cheek, making him lean into it slightly. Are you sure? You looked like you were possessed. Matthew furrowed his eyebrows, unsure of what I meant. Did he not really remember? I now became concerned, desperate to know answers. Why was he acting strangely? Matthew took my hands in his and held them gently, rubbing his thumbs over the tops of my hand.
Hey, is everything alright?
I almost glared. That was what I had to ask him. I wasn't crazy. I knew that something was off, and I had to try to figure out what. I squeezed Matthew's hands instead. Matthew, I'm serious. You were staring into the fire, and your eyes just looked glazed and stuff. Pressing his lips together, he looked down, trying to discern of what I meant, as if he didn't do what I had suggested he did. I pulled his hands, now worried. I didn't want him to assume I was making things up. You believe me, right? Matthew stared into my eyes, reading them as he nodded.
I do. I do. I don't know how to respond. I mean, I don't remember being in a trance.
As he said that, however, he suddenly curled over and held his head, hissing in pain. Matthew? Quickly, Matthew collapsed onto his knees and gripped his head, digging his fingers into his hair as I followed him down. Now I knew for sure. Something was definitely wrong. I cupped Matthew's face, trying to read his expression, and trying to figure out what was wrong with just from sight. A moment passed before Matthew let out a gasp of a breath, opening his eyes wide and panting for some fresh air to enter his lungs. His eyes painted his fear, as if he had just encountered a nightmare within the moment that had passed. Matthew, what happened? Matthew wouldn't speak, furrowing his eyebrows and shaking his head.
I heard someone calling to me.
Calling to you? For a moment, I believed it to his mother. Maybe he was hearing what I heard in the human world, but why didn't I hear it anymore? It made no sense. Matthew shook his head and gritted his teeth.
It sounded like my mother. But how could she...
I took Matthew's hands and held them to my chest, catching his attention. Hey, let's go ask the others about this. It's not too late to go talk to them. Matthew suddenly shook his head and took his hands away from mine, grasping my shoulders.
It's alright, really. I don't need their help. We can figure this out on our own.
Matthew... I had a really bad feeling about the situation. Matthew was getting put in trances, then getting headaches and hearing his mother's voice. Why was he so reluctant to get help of his brothers? Okay, she would... Because Jenna in my head is the fourth youngest, so... Because they're all sisters in my little head canon, because it's like a weird group harem. And Allie's the oldest. Heidi is the second oldest. Violet is the third oldest. Then it's Jenna, and then one that we will meet eventually. But she would understand. Okay. Matthew seemed adamant. I swallowed my nerves and nodded slowly, taking in a breath and letting out a sigh. Matthew leaned forward and kissed my forehead, thankful that I was willing to trust him. However, trust wasn't the issue. I trusted Matthew very much. What I didn't trust was whatever was trying to influence him and hurt him. I didn't just want to leave this in the dark, and I didn't want us to hit a wall with this that could potentially hurt Matthew more or make him do something even more odd. I grimaced before standing up, helping Matthew up. Come on, let's head to bed. Matthew nodded, agreeing that right now sleep was something we probably needed. I led Matthew to bed and helped him in, cuddling up to him and laying my head on his shoulder. Matthew?
Yeah?
Are you sure you'll be okay?
I'm sure. I promise, I'll figure this out in no time.
I nodded once more before closing my eyes. I had to let him try. If all else failed, I could go to the others for help, but not unless it became dangerous. Still, something felt wrong about this entire situation. First, there was something wrong with me. But now there was something wrong with Matthew? We had the worst luck. I expected the night to take me away into a world of slumber, but was quietly woke by Simon poking my side with his knife. What? I looked down at my side to see Simon waving his arms and pointing at the door, revealing it to be partly open with a familiar red eye peeking through it. I stared, suddenly wide-eyed, but Diana didn't move from her spot, knowing I spotted her. Did she want me to go over there? Simon pulled at my hand, wanting me to go, so I snuck out of Matthew's arms and crept over to the door, causing Diana to back away from it and give me the space needed to leave the room. Diana?
Is everything all right?
Huh? Where's this coming from? I furrowed my eyebrows. What do you mean? It would be like, I didn't hear any fucking. The other four couples are going at it like a beasts, but nothing from you guys. What's going on? Yeah. Considering, actually, at this point, I think they're all not really going at it. If I remember right, yeah. Or they could be, considering technically they're married.
I was doing my usual routine around the castle, and felt somewhat of a disturbance in the air, like something was trying to make contact with someone here. It was a weak wave, but...
Are you a Jedi, Diana? You feel disturbances in the air. I stared surprised. Someone was really trying to contact Matthew? I became overjoyed to know that it was simple enough. Diana tilted her head at me, seeing my expression.
What? Did something happen?
Before I opened my mouth to speak, however, Matthew's plea echoed in my head. He wanted me to trust him. if I told Diana, I'd ruin his trust for me. I merely bit my lip, shaking my head. No, I'm just surprised, that is all. Diana raised an eyebrow at me, but I didn't budge. I didn't want to be the one to say anything until Matthew needed me to. Despite fighting against every moral code in my body, I had to put some trust in Matthew. Eventually, Diana nodded before turning to leave.
I apologize for disturbing your sleep. Please, have a good night.
And tried to fuck him later. And try to give him some energy by fucking him, please. It makes the castle much better. I mean, the others are already fucking, so go ahead and join. Feel free. With that, Diana left me alone in the hall. I stared, mildly I am not confined. I know how to English. Mildly flabbergasted at the fact that she simply let it go. However, would she look into it more? I had to admit, I hope so. I returned to Matthew's arms that night, hoping that everything would be okay. The morning was unkind as I woke and yawned, feeling drowsiness still trying to consume my mind and force me back to sleep. However, I had a train today, and so did Matthew. Speaking of Matthew, I turned my head to see Matthew rubbing his eyes, waking up alongside me. However, his grumble let me know that the night was not kind to him.
Is it morning already?
I nodded and gently leaned down, kissing Matthew's forehead. That seemed to lighten his mood as a happy smile danced across his lips and he let out a happy sigh.
Good morning.
Morning. I smiled as I hovered over Matthew's face, seeing his beautiful blue eyes gaze into my eyes through the blur of sleep. With a sweet, infectious smile, Matthew reached out a hand up and cupped my cheek.
You are so pretty. You know that?
Ethan, were you drunk when you said this line, or what? I know he's supposed to be, like, waking up, like, how you sound when you're waking up, like, hi. Or like some people do. But that just sounded like he was drunk. Let me hear that again, please.
You are so pretty. You know that?
I felt a blush creeping onto my face. The way he said it so casually made my heart flutter and had me forgetting about the world around us. It was like we were in our own little universe for a short moment of time. I nuzzled his hand and giggled. I didn't want the day to roll on to us getting ready to separate and train just yet. I wanted to sit back with Matthew and enjoy our time alone. No problems, no danger, just us. Matthew grew a small smirk before snaking his arms around me and folded me against his chest, making me gasp and grab onto his shoulders. Not wanting to crush him with my weight. That's finally I say the right plural. Jesus. Sorry, I hit my mic again because I had an itchy nose. However, Matthew smiled and squeezed me close.
No nightmare last night, huh?
As he said it, I realized it. There was indeed no nightmare for me last night. I had a peaceful, dreamless night. I suddenly smiled and looked down at Matthew with a happy nod. Yep, yeah, no nightmare. I had a good sleep. Matthew chuckled before leaning up and kissed me softly, just enough for me to feel it. As he pulled away, I became curious about his own night. What about you? Matthew's smile faltered a bit as I asked, but he shook his head slightly and gained his smile back.
It was rough. I woke up a couple of times, but that was pretty much it.
There's more to the story, but I had to let it go. If he wanted me to trust him, then I had to do it with the full extent of my heart. And I implanted a light feather-like kiss on his nose, making him chuckle beneath his breath. So, what's the plan for you?
Well, I figured I could skip some training and just spend some time with you.
God damn it, Ethan. You make Matthew so cute, yet irresistible at the same time. With a playful smirk, I grabbed the nearby pillow and gently bounced it on him, making him flail a bit.
Hey!
You know training isn't important, Matthew. Matthew smirked and rolled us both over to have him on top of me, bouncing his pillow on me. Gah!
I can totally train with you in a never-ending pillow fight!
He's so cute. I love him. Oh, it was on. I quickly grabbed my pillow and swung it at Matthew, landing on target and causing him to roll off of me. With a grin, I arched my body in the opposite direction, hoping to land another hit on him. But Matthew quickly ducked and swung his pillow at me, hitting me with a soft, fluffy impact.
Gotcha!
The battle became intense, and soon we were double-fisting pillows, trying to whack each other with our chosen weapons, while also avoiding the fireplace, the bench, and truly anything that looked expensive around the room. Regardless, we were immersed in our own world, duking it out with feathers and cloth as we lost track of time. We barely even noticed the door open.
What's going on in...
As Diana's voice rang out through the air, I gasped in surprise and looked over to see the succubus holding 2 plates with stacks of pancakes on them. Pancakes, Matthew! Pancakes! What frightened me and Diana was a sudden knife chucking itself into Diana's direction. Causing her to sidestep and letting the knife rake through a stack, effectively nailing the pancakes to the wall beside her. Whoa!
Hey!
Diana and I looked to Matthew, seeing him panting and posed in mid-throw. His eyes flashed back and forth between gold and blue, glaring hard at Diana, most likely in surprise from her sudden entrance. Once again, I was taken away from my fantasy and brought back to reality. Fuck you, Diana. Diana snarled and practically slammed the 2 plates she was holding onto the table, glaring daggers at Matthew. Ironic, because Matthew summoned daggers himself.
What in the 7 hells was that about?
Diana! As Diana stepped forward, Matthew suddenly shook his head and realized who was approaching him and who he essentially attacked, causing him to step back and place his hands in front of him.
Whoa! Hold on!
Jenna would defend Matthew. I quickly reacted, not wanting Diana and Matthew to start fighting. Besides, Diana took us by surprise. Matthew couldn't have known. I rushed over and placed myself between Matthew and Diana, holding my arms out to stop her. Diana, hold on! Diana stopped and glared down at me, now turning her frustration toward me.
What?
I opened my mouth to speak before Matthew rushed around me and pressed his hands together, bowing his head.
I'm sorry! I didn't know it was you. I thought it was an attacker and...
An attacker in my home? They would be dead before they even set foot through the gates!
I looked to Matthew, seeing him grit his teeth and press his hands together hard, trying to gain some form of forgiveness from the succubus who seemed to want to cut his throat open. Diana snarled quietly before slapping his hands away and gripping his chin, making him stare up at her.
The next time you dare to attack me will be the last time you feel your heart beating in your chest.
I don't like this, Diana. I want to go back to the other routes where Diana was less of a bitch. With a threatening scowl, Diana pushed Matthew back away from her, causing her to turn and walk toward the exit of the room. I, however, rushed to Matthew, catching him before he tripped over his own feet.
Eat, then get to training. Don't waste time.
Oh, fuck. Matthew, I love you, but I think you just fucked us over. Diana finally left, leaving me and Matthew lost in our own space once again. This time we were awake and aware of what was going on, mildly ashamed of the delusion we placed ourselves in before the sudden surprise from Diana. Matthew rubbed his head, looking to the floor.
Man, I really screwed up.
Comfort him, of course. Comfort the baby. Wait, do I have to comfort him? Yep, comfort him. I knew that he messed up, but he needed to get himself together and fix his mistake so he could move on and figure out the problem he already had. I wrapped my arms around him, nuzzling his shoulder. It's all right. I rubbed his shoulders as he rested his forehead against mine.
How the heck do I deserve you?
I merely smiled and kissed his cheek. Because you love me, and I love you. With a chuckle, Matthew kissed my cheek in kind and nodded.
Right.
Matthew and I turned to our breakfast and ate while what we could, with Matthew taking the plate he managed to attack. The pancakes almost slipped off the knife that was still embedded in the wall, causing Matthew to run and catch it in his empty plate. He didn't eat it and merely left it there, avoiding it like it had some sort of poison in it. Yeah, next time, it might. We eventually stopped by to train, letting the day roll. I began to feel a bit elated at the idea of walking to train with Faye. The stress in the morning needed to be burnt away with the workout, and I knew that Faye would teach me something to take my mind off of it. It became like a game, a relief away from the reality of the world. I made my way to the grand hall and stopped at the doorway, looking in and taking in the sight of Faye sleeping on the ground, spread eagle. It took every ounce of control I had not to laugh hysterically from the sounds Faye was releasing as they slept. To think such sounds came out of cute-looking demon like Faye seemed rather bizarre and cartoon-like. Nevertheless, I knew I had to get started on training. The boys were most likely in the midst of their own training as I stood there. Matthew probably hiding behind everybody because Diana would be focused on trying to kill him. Oh, actually, Matthew being more the target of Diana than the rest because of what he did. I just hope he comes back in one piece, that's all. And the others would be like, why the fuck is she focusing on you so much, Matthew? It's like, I kinda attacked her. What? What the fuck are you doing, Matthew? At least Sam would do that. Erik would be like, you would attack the host that's keeping us here. This is why I called you a little boy. James would be like, shut up, Erik. Matthew, did you at least apologize? No, she didn't give me the chance to. I mean, I did, but then she got mad at me that I might not live long to be married to Jenna. Damien would be like, just calm down, your head is hurting me. As I stood there, so I couldn't exactly spend time watching Faye snore. I stepped quietly into the room, drawing closer to Faye's body as I tried to think of how to wake them up. I'm feeling naughty. Go for it. It was only going to be a little scare. A little fun never hurt anyone, right? I mean, I do this all the time when I train with Faye. I always scare her. It's just so funny. She's supposed to be a demon. She's supposed to not fall asleep. I tiptoed further into the room, making sure not to wake up Faye as I approached them and circled around them. As I finally stood behind their head, I crouched down and cupped my hands together. Faye jolted up like they had been zapped by a bolt of lightning and shot themselves up into the air like a rocket before slamming their head into the ceiling.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
Oh my god, Faye! The temporary hilarity I felt as I scared Faye quickly vanished as the sound of their head colliding with the ceiling echoed through the room, and the fairy in question quickly descended, holding their head. Faye, I am so sorry.
It's okay. Ow. I needed to wake up anyways.
Faye finally floated to be level with my height, shaking their head and rubbing over where their head collided with the ceiling. I bit my lip and rubbed the back of my neck, feeling now very embarrassed and ashamed of what I chose to do. Faye wiggled their arms and let out a tired sigh before blowing raspberries with their mouths and slamming their hands against their cheeks.
I am awake!
I had covered my mouth to stop the burst of laughter that wanted to erupt from my gut at the explanation. Faye became full of energy like it was a flip of a switch. I became mildly jealous of such a feat. Nevertheless, I was eager and ready for my next training session. I placed my arms at my side and straightened my back, showing the posture of determination and attention. What will we be doing today? Faye looked over at me, for some sort of answer in my eyes. Despite showing the sun energy spark like a light bulb earlier, they remained silent for a moment. Were they not sure? I hoped that today it wouldn't be going over the thorn bush again. As much as it was a cool trick, casting a thorn bush into existence from dawn till dusk was not as fun as many would imagine it to be, even with hilarious breaks in between. Finally, a glimmer twinkled in Faye's eyes, making them grin from ear to ear at me.
I know what we're gonna do!
What? With a burst of energy, Faye shot themselves into the air and spun around before flipping upside down in the air towards me.
I'm gonna teach you how to fly!
Wait, what? Fly? My mind completely blanked on itself. Fly? I was really going to be taught how to fly? I didn't have wings. How the heck was I going to do that? They nodded ecstatically before swooping down and flying around me.
It's so easy. You just need to imagine yourself floating in the air and boom, you'll be flying in no time.
I grimaced, watching Faye fly around me. I suddenly felt like I was in Peter Pan and had to think happy thoughts and go to the second star to the right to Neverland. Well, Faye was a fairy, so I am suddenly imagining you as Tinkerbell, Faye.
Tinker who?
Right, demon world, not human world. Never mind. Faye stopped circling me and stared for a moment before shrugging and floating away from me, crossing their arms proudly and physically imitating Sergeant.
Now get those feet off the ground!
I looked down at the ground at my boot-covered feet. Making a thorn bush was one thing. Make myself fly was another. I tried to imagine it, but there was no energy in my body that would respond to such a request. How the heck was I going to fly? I guess think happy thoughts. Might as well. As stupid as the idea was, the thought had merit. If energy came from within me somehow, then maybe my emotions would give me a boost that I needed. A happy thought, as cliché as it was, might have been the trick. I closed my eyes and tried to think of every happy thing in my life, tossing aside my situation. I was in a loving relationship with a man who wanted to devote his life to me. I had a loving family, minus my dad, and amazing friends. I was going to get married soon. The thought of my marriage made my entire body warm in a happy feeling. I was going to be married to the most wonderful man in the world, and we would live together for the rest of our lives and beyond. The feeling of the wedding band on my ring finger intensified the feeling, making me smile and let out a sigh. Would that be enough? However, after a full minute of concentration, nothing seemed to occur. I opened my eyes and looked down at myself. My feet were still on the ground. Nothing changed with me. A flash of anger sparked within me. How difficult was it to lift off the ground? How the heck can I fly? As soon as the word burst from my mouth, I shot my hands down in anger, only to be vaulted into the air by some sort of energy force beneath my feet. My body quickly shot up, defying gravity, and sent me towards the ceiling.
Whoa!
Faye quickly zipped over towards me and grabbed me, intercepting my quick ascent to the ceiling while holding me close to them. It was like being held by a very strong child, but as their small frame barely lined up from my shoulder to my knee. It hit me for a split moment. Faye was ridiculously small. Nevertheless, I gripped onto the Faye, thankful that I wasn't going to crash into the wood above us, and looked around in awe. I was really in the air, flying, or at least being held up by some force. I could feel energy cycle around and through my body, most likely keeping me afloat. I could fly. I looked in awe with growing excitement in the situation. This was the best feeling ever. Faye grinned before slowly letting me go, proving that they weren't holding me up and that I wasn't imagining anything. Holy crap! Pure elation rushed through me as I merely measured the distance between my feet and the floor. I was in the air and slowly bobbed up and down like Faye, floating freely against gravity. I did it!
You did it! You're flying!
I willed my body forward, feeling the air around me slowly guide me. In obedience, the energy in my body moved me through the space. It was incredibly odd, feeling the air slightly brush against my entire body, but I was indeed moving forward. A large grin graced my face as I became more determined with my mental commands. I flew towards Faye and circled them before silently flying around the space. I felt free as a bird, letting my mind naturally drive me in each direction I wanted to go in.
Here we go! You're getting it!
Woohoo! Out of pure adrenaline, I arched back and did a flip in the air before rocketing back forward and gliding over to turn away from the wall I was quickly approaching. The rush of this new power became addicting, and I wanted to do more with it. Still, I couldn't deny the effects of using this power put me in. I could feel my energy quickly drain away the longer I remained in the air. A slight tingling sensation ran over my legs and hands, reminding me that I had a limited amount of energy. I mentally took note of it and floated over to Faye, putting a lid over my over-enthusiastic glee from the new power and prepared myself for further instruction. Alright, I can fly. I can fly now. What next? Faye laughed before planting their hands on their hips.
You really like flying, huh?
I couldn't help but nod. This was the most exciting thing I had done in the demon world thus far. It was like I was a superhero or something. I barely had to think about staying up to remain in the air, and it was increasingly making me giddy. Faye grinned before circling around me and gesturing me to follow them.
Then let's have a little fun! Come on!
Within a blink of my eyes, Faye zipped out of the room and into the hall. Oh, what? Hey! Not wanting to lose them, I wheeled myself forward, starting to chase. I quickly arched around the corner, locking Faye into my sights before building up speed to increase my distance. Anyway, that's my thing, but I'm having so much fun. Anyway, I will leave it off here, and we will see you guys in the next episode. See you guys then. Bye!